Good morning, Trinity Baptist Church. We're back with Luther today. I read through a couple more pages, and one of the things that really stood out to me is in the last paragraph on page 486, that Luther points us to a verse from Matthew 25, something Jesus said that even if you've read it 100 times, when you come back to it and really listen to what Jesus is saying, is truly startling. Luther leads into it this way. He says, "This I well know, that if it were Christ or his mother who were laid low by illness, everybody would be so solicitous and would gladly become a servant or helper. Everyone would want to be bold and fearless. Nobody would flee, but everyone would come running. And yet they don't hear what Christ himself says. As you did to one of the least, you did it to me." Isn't that an amazing thing that Jesus says in Matthew 25:40 here in the ESV? "The king will answer them, 'Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me.'" It's a verse that catches me off guard every time I come back to it, whether it's reading through the Bible or if somebody like Luther points me to it. And it's a good one to keep in mind through all of this. You know, if you're watching the numbers in King County, for example, I think 584 people have died in the last few months. And you might say, well, given how many people live in our county, I guess that's good news because it means it's not that likely I'm going to die from it. But on the other hand, if you're looking at it through the lens of the least of these, whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me, you go, wow, that's 584 families that are at a very, very low point. How can I care for these people? Or you look at the unemployment numbers in our county, 15% or so unemployment in King County, and for some places, like the neighborhoods around SeaTac, it's almost 40%. And you think, well, you know, this already happened to me, or this might not happen to me, or whatever, as I look at the statistics from afar. But instead, when you put on this lens of whatever you do for the least of these, you do for me, it takes on a whole different picture. It's a different kind of math to say, on the one hand, well, do these numbers mean I'm in trouble? Versus to say, do these numbers mean that I can care for others out of my care and concern for Christ himself? It's a good verse Luther points us to, and I have to say this is a good recommendation from Eric to go back through this. I think there's a lot of wisdom for us here, not least of which this verse from Matthew 25:40. "And the king will answer them, 'Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me.'"